Welcome, everyone. I guess we'll start with this slide. All right. You are in the deep dive into the FLL Challenge rubrics. And your presenters today are myself, Elaine, and
Chow.
Coach Chow. As you can see from the photo, Coach Chow and I were recently in Houston, Texas, wearing our red FLL Challenge judge shirts because we were both judges in Houston, Texas this year as FLL Challenge judges. Let's see, I judged Romania this year, Guatemala, I had, I had Taiwan. Who'd you have?
Oh, I have some from Macau and Hong Kong and then maybe Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spain and Brazil. Those are the ones that when you look at your schedule as a world judge, you go, they're very good. Very good. So we had this idea. While Chow and I were in the judge deliberation room in Houston, we thought, you know what? We need to do a session at the kickoff where we take some of the things that we saw and observed and dig super deep and detailed into the rubric. So if you are a new coach and you're in this session, this is going to be overwhelming for you because we're gonna go pretty deep into it, right? So we don't. If you are a new coach, well, let's start with this. Is anyone in here brand new rookie coach or mentor? Okay, good. So everyone's done this at least 1 year, right? So you know what a rubric looks like. You've seen some of the things that Nancy's talking about, right? Where you get comments and things like that. So what Chow and I and Nancy, 2-3 years ago, she was at Worlds also. What we've seen, some of the things that we've observed, we're going to share some of those tips with you today. And we're going to go pretty deep into it. We have 45 minutes, really. We could probably talk for 2 hours of some of the things that we saw. So hopefully we'll give you some tips and some ideas at the very beginning of the season because many of these things need to be addressed from day one so that you develop it over your season for when you show up as a judge. Anything else you want to say before we jump in? Okay, so try your clicker. Does it work?
Oh, no, I'm just...
Oh, okay. All right.
Just laser.
So the rubrics this year, these are the new unearthed rubrics that I have up on the screen, are extremely similar to the ones that you had last year. The first page is more comments, and then there's 1 page for robot design, 1 page for innovation project. So it's the same thing this year that you should be expecting. What we are going to do today is we're going to focus on the blue innovation project and the green robot design. Okay? That's what we'll focus on. The first thing we want to bring to your attention is that at the bottom of both the innovation project rubric, which is this one because it's blue, and the robot design rubric, which is this one because it's green, is what it says at the bottom. And it is this, that any one of the ratings that you get where you see the little gear or the little cogwheel, okay, any of those, if we award the team a rating of 2, for example, in that category, the 2 gets fed both into that activity, so whether it's robot design or innovation project, and it goes towards your core values rubric. So even though we aren't manually filling out a core values rubrics, there is one there, and it's sort of hidden behind the innovation project and the robot design, because every time a judge gives you a rating on that cogwheel, it gets fed into basically it's a spreadsheet, right? It gets fed under your core values. Make sense? Okay, so pay attention to that as we start digging into the specifics. All right, we're going to go into innovation project. Good? All right, here we go. First thing on your innovation project is called identify, and we put it up there so you can see exactly what it is that's in that's being asked in that portion of the rubric. It says, identify, and I'm just reading the rubric. Team had a clearly defined problem that was well rehearsed. Clearly defined problem. Does it rehearse? Research. Does it rehearse? Your presentation should be rehearsed. Researched. Sorry, I haven't had my coffee. Okay, so clearly defined problem. Okay, so one of the things I noticed at Worlds last year that sort of really, this is my 18th year doing this, but it hit me this year, was interview experts before deciding on your problem. We would always try to come up with a problem before we talk to experts. Talk to your experts and ask them what are, whatever the question is each year, but to ask them what some of the problems that they're running into, and then you can start collecting a list. Maintain a list of the problems and ideas. We're going to show you an example of how to do that in a minute. Design a ranking system if you can. Rank each idea, some kind of analysis. Again, I'll show you an example in a minute. Choose the problem based on the analysis. Often the students will get asked in judging, how did you choose your problem? What is the answer we get 90% of the time? We voted. Okay? Totally fine. But if you want to go from a 2 to a 3 or even to a 4, this is what we're trying to do here. Okay? And I'm adding this. In your presentation, state your problem early. Okay? Do not wait till minute 2 or minute 3 to reveal to the judge what your problem is. We'll talk about this later, but as the judges are filling out the rubric, if you can immediately tell me what the problem is and I can immediately fill out that part of the rubric, my brain then moves on to the next parts of it. But if you don't give me the problem right at the beginning of the judging session, I keep looking for it. Right? As a judge, I keep listening, like, where's the problem? I still don't have the problem. Oh, got the problem. And now you've wasted 2 minutes of me trying to look for the problem instead of listening to what the kids are saying. Okay? So here's an example of something that I did with my team. This is way back. Anybody around for Animal Allies? 2017? 17, 16? No, it's before that. 2014, 2015. Okay, so here's an example, okay? So you have a spreadsheet of some kind. It doesn't matter how you do this, but it's just an idea. Your ideas or your problems are listing up at the top. So these are the problems that you've collected from talking to your experts and doing your research. Then we came up back then with a list of criteria of what it is that would make a good project. Now, understand, these were good questions to ask back in the Animal Allies season. That's a year that my team went to Worlds. So this worked very well for us. Don't just take this kind of a rubric and copy it, because some of the questions may not apply to what's going on this year. But you see that what we did then, the kids went down and ranked everything, they totaled it up, and then they went, okay, whatever idea number 3, let's say, has the highest score, that's the one we take. So when the judges say, how'd you pick your idea, there's a whole analysis behind it that went behind. It doesn't take a lot of time, it's not super time consuming, but it's a way to show how we reached a decision in a way that was more than just voting. Make sense? Any questions? Do you want to add anything?
No, I think this is a very good decision process. So, because as an engineer, you want to use the data to show your evidence, not subjective voting. Yeah, very good.
I talk a lot at the beginning, and then I'm just going to hand him the microphone. Okay. Second part is design. Team worked together while creating a project plan and developing their ideas. Okay, so you see where this one is going. Project plan, right? We have I have someone who's helping me actually develop tools to give you guys with project plans, but any type of project planning tool that you may have. document it, timeline of what you will do, and you can have an engineering notebook of what you actually did. So at the beginning of the season, start thinking about, and I think we have a couple of ideas. Here, I'm going to give this one to Chow because this is his slide.
Oh.
Here, go.
So for young kids, I guess you can do a simple plan. You notice that it's involved within the engineering design process. So identify, design, create, iterate, and communicate. That's also the order that our judges going down the list. And you can actually design the timeline with roughly the weeks. Say you have 12 weeks, you can just divide it into different sections, and notice that the different sections have overlapping. This is some overall timeline that the kids may be easier for them to understand and to plan.
All right, and then another more advanced way that you can do this, you can download, there's free Excel templates, and then you can get fancy, right? You can get into actual project planning tools if you want to, but this is just very accessible. It's more advanced, but then you can use an Excel spreadsheet to list the tasks and what they're going to do, right? So this is at the beginning of the season, right? In planning your innovation project, what are the steps that you're going to follow, and when are you going to do what? And I keep your original plan, because one thing judges love to see is the evolution. So if you tell me that on August 5th, right, the day that the project is released, or the challenge is released, we started here, and then here's what our Excel spreadsheet looks like a month later, a week later, and as it progresses. You can do it like this online. I've seen teams do it with flip charts. It can be paper. It can be whatever works for you, right? But you've got to have a documented, written project plan for us to be able to rate you into a 3 on this portion of the rubric, right? We want to be able to see. If you go back, we want to be able to see not partial, we want to be able to see clear evidence, okay? That's what makes it go that notch above. And we have teams at Worlds that have things on plotters, some of them is in a binder, but something very graphic, quick, and easy, so if the judges say, do you have a project plan, you go, there's our project plan, do you have any questions? It takes very little time in your judging session to make it very clear, number 3, to the judges that you have a project plan. Make sense? Okay. So next one, create. All right. The team developed an original idea or built on an existing one with a prototype model / drawing to represent their solution. Okay, so you can have your own completely new idea, but it is perfectly okay to take something that exists and improve upon it. Okay, the first thing we said is keep it simple. When Chow and I were preparing for this, I call it the pie in the sky project. The pie in the sky project is, the year that we did space, it's that we're going to build the shuttle and we're going to go to Mars and we're going to collect rocks and we're going to bring them back to Earth, right? Great, there might be a reason why you want to do that as an FLL innovation project, and that's fine. But it's not something that is within your resource level or time limit to do and to actually accomplish. What I've seen, I'm going to have Chow tell you about one of the things we saw at Worlds this year from Hawaii. That was very cool. So keep it simple, right? We recommend, it's okay if you don't, but we recommend that you find something that is within your team's time, money, skills, and tools, okay? So I'll tell you about Hawaii, but that project line we were just talking about, the matrix we were just talking about, you may want to put those questions on your matrix. Is this doable within our time limit? Is this doable within our money that we have? And then that will help you rate your projects. Hawaii, that's very cool.
So, for example, the World Championship teams from Hawaii, they have a project last season, something to do with a sunscreen that's environmentally friendly, so that it won't aggregate in the ocean. They went all the way to patent their invention, right? So that's how far the team will go.
Examples.
Yeah, and then they also give the judges examples to try. So yeah, I mean, you can't go very far into how the real product. They actually deliver the real product, right?
Yeah.
So that's the sky's the limit. But again, using your money budget and skill set.
They had little containers, they had done the labeling, they'd come up with the logos, and it didn't involve learning how to scuba dive, which so many teams had something going on underwater, very deep underwater, which is great, but how do you test that? How do you, it's perfectly fine to do that, just understand the limitations of choosing a project like that. And then the model, right, create a research binder, or what, you can put binder in quotes if you want to. It can be a physical binder if you want, but it can be some way for you to keep track of your ongoing research. Always research as you would right, all the research that goes on here at ASU. Every single person that starts a research project here has to research what's out there right now. So it's very important for your teams to understand what exists or doesn't exist. And then we want to talk a little bit about the model drawing versus a working prototype. You want to take this one?
You can go.
Yeah? Okay. So a model or drawing. A model is, I saw a lot of models last year. Models is when the students build something, and it can be 3D printed, it can be built out of Legos, it can be paper mache, whatever it is. But it's a model of what they're envisioning, right? Or a drawing. Something to show us what they are envisioning their solution to be, versus a working prototype, which is the thing that would actually go out and do the actual, deliver the actual solution to your project, to the problem you're trying to solve. So how the team from Hawaii did by showing up with their little actual sunscreen product, they had the actual product that was there, right? What we saw a lot of last year were a lot of submersible devices that were meant to go underwater, but they were built in such a way that they didn't go underwater because it really wasn't within the realistic resources that a team would have. I saw a team that the entire team got scuba dive certified and went underwater and with divers and the whole bit, we don't have that in Arizona. Like, how are you going to do that, So that's why we're sort of bringing this to your attention, is to sort of think about, do we have any of our problems where we can bring an actual solution to the table? And if you can't, perfectly okay. Just make sure, right, because it says up there, we want to see some kind of a model or drawing to represent the solution. And if you want to take it up a notch and have a working prototype, that's fine.
I want to add something.
Okay. Yep, go.
So in terms of the project, the product prototype, don't forget you can also show the judge your progress, right? You can have maybe a simple model in the beginning, and then gradually you can improve your models. Maybe even team up with engineers somewhere in the company. Show them, hey, this is our prototype, and some engineer will be inspired, say, I want to build a real product based on your idea. So you can team up with companies and to make your idea into a product. That's also impressive.
All right, iterate. So the next part of the rubric is iterate. Team shared their idea with others, collected feedback, and included improvements to their solution. So you can see the sort of the rankings there about that we have minimal, it was shared with at least one person or group, and the solution was shared with multiple people or groups. And as a judge, we follow that to the letter. Exactly what those words are written there. So what's important here is to share your ideas with others. So we want you to, at some point between now and your first event, share your solution, potentially with your experts, right? community, target audience. Document the feedback you received and how it affected your final solution. So what we want to see, I have this bullet in both innovation project and robot design. Judges love to hear about improvements. Don't be afraid to tell us what failed and how did you handle it. So important, right? We pulled this out of the engineering notebook, right? So it's exactly it's the engineering process. And so we would love to hear that your kids presented something to someone. It could be a Zoom call, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? And they said, I don't know, it's a little too big, it's a little too heavy, it's a little too expensive, whatever it may be, right? Have a record of that. And then tell the judges, we met with so-and-so on such and such a date, they gave us this feedback, and what we did as part of, and you can use that word, we iterated and made, and we adapted our solution to take into account their comments. You see how that kind of attention to the detail, which is what real life is, this is what real engineers do, right? They test their product over and over again. We want to see that they learned from that conversation. Add anything to that? No.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. And the last part is communicate. So communicate. Team shared an effective presentation of their solution, its impact on others, and celebrated their team's progress. I want to highlight on this one, as you look at the little bubbles that we fill out as judges, every single one of them on this page has the cogwheel or the gear. Every single one of these counts both towards the innovation project and towards core values. Okay? So, presentation. If I can recommend anything, you guys, follow the rubric. Start your presentation and state your problem. Tell us how you decided. Tell us why what solution you chose. Tell us that you shared it with you built it, you did a prototype, whatever. You're just going down the rubric. You shared it with experts. You went back and adapted it, right? As a judge, I can tell you when I'm, it doesn't mean it's boring, but it's just really clear. It's so much easier for me to absorb all this information, okay? So follow the rubric. Make it easy for the judges to fill out the rubric. So if there's words in the rubric that you can utilize in your presentation, use the words from the rubric, right? You do that when you write your resume for a job, right? What do? We take the words out of the job description and we put them on our resume, and we cater the resume to that job by utilizing some of the same terms over and over again. It's the same idea. Engaging presentations are great, but they must also be clear. So make sure we can hear what they're saying. Don't talk too fast. Don't try to squeeze too much in 5 minutes, because they're talking too fast. We can't understand what they're saying, and then we're just wondering. You know what I'm saying? And we're just completely lost. So find a really good pace. Well rehearsed. Here's my rehearsed. I knew I wanted to say it. Well rehearsed, right? Obviously, right? If you know what it is that they want to say, what their roles are, and how they're going to get organized, it's so much smoother. Then we go into impact on others. This is why this is so heavy in core values, is because you want to reemphasize the reason why you did this. Why did you solve this particular problem, and how did it impact people by you coming up with this solution? Okay. And then there's one over there about the team's progress, and we're a little bit projecting into FTC. We're in judging in FTC, they look for lessons learned. If you have a way to tell judges, if you have time, about what the students learn through this experience, it's just the kind of things. We put a little cogwheel here because it completely goes towards core values. If you can wrap that in there, it just buttons it up for us, where we can, give you that 3 for sure. I think that's it for Innovation Project. I'm going to hand it over to Chow. And any questions on Innovation Project? Yes. 5 minutes. So you have 5 minutes to present. We have 5 minutes to ask you questions. If the information being presented by the students, by the team members, is helpful, and we're kind of liking what we're hearing, and it's helping us with the rubric, we will gently, within reason, allow them to go beyond the 5 minutes. But you won't get 6 or 7, like the judges, because it's eating into our questions. And so we will, would you say, Nancy, very politely, gently, wrap it up. Yeah. Yes.
How much time before the presentation do the judges get to see the notebook and review the material?
0. 0's the answer. So for the people who are on the call, the question was, before the judging session, do we get to see what the students are bringing? And the answer is 0. We have you for 30 minutes, and that's it. In the old days, right, there used to be different ways that we would do things. But now, you walk in with what you have, and you walk out with what you have. Unless you want to leave us, we've gotten honey, licorice, all kinds of things, little bribes and things like that are just lovely to have. Depending on your event, a small trifold pamphlet might be accepted, but we cannot take anything to do with your binder. So it's a very good question, Kevin, because we can't look at something you're presenting, listen to something the kids are doing, and have someone point to a binder and expect us to absorb all of that. We simply cannot. One of the tips I like is if you want to put, I use duct tape, this is how we used to do it, on pages that are important. It could be your project plan, it could be photos, it could be whatever, but something that they can flip to very, very quickly is okay. We may have a few minutes to flip through some of the pages. I do something very mean in robot design. I flip to a page of the code and I say, what does that do? But that's it. Yeah? All right, robot design. All right.
Actually, before that, I want to add to the some comment on the impact of the project, right? So this is when you started with the design, you want to make sure that the impact of the project is very important, and you want to also emphasize at the end of the presentation, right? So and also that goes to your core values. Yep. So it's super, super important. But yeah, this goes to the robot design. Well, the robot design also follows the same engineering process, right? So in the identify part, what does it mean for the robot design is actually, do you have a strategy for the game? When each year when the game started, you look at the game video closely, right? Hopefully your team member will have a discussion on these missions, and before even you build your robot, you want to talk about strategy. Okay, so this is the identify part. For the beginners, your strategy could be SSB. I want to categorize different robot missions into easy, medium, or hard, and you want to talk about how to group them together, how many missions you want to do. When your team grow mature and you want to go to world level, you wanted to have a more higher level mission strategy to basically you want to do them all, right? For the advanced level team members, you want to do them all, but how you do it within time limit, 2.5 minutes, as you all know. So some of the approach could be I want to minimize the total number of distance the robot travels, or something like that, right? And you are designing this things like that. There is a QR code here. If you scan it, there will be a tool, right?
Yep.
That
should work.
Yep.
I hope.
Show you the map. I think it's for this year even. Yeah, on Earth. And using that map, you could, basically talk about your strategies, how you group your missions, and how you order them on the map. And that could be your working document, right? So make sure you talk to the judges about those information, like how you order missions, and also you should know your maximum points you designed, right? So how many team members come into the room. How many points you can do? I don't know. so yeah. And on this same category, you also want to share. This is the second row. How you use your resources to build your robot, right? So it could be you can borrow the idea from internet. That's fine, but make sure you credit where you get that design from. You can just completely design a new one, right? That's totally fine. And how you code? You can code in Python. You can code in Scratch. If your team member don't learn a new skill like in Python, that's also very good. And you can say some team members show, the senior member teach the younger kids on coding. These are all very good things to say, right? And remember, you can always tell the judges what resources you have to use to code and build your robot. Do you want to add some on the type? Yeah.
You got to name your robot. You got to have a name.
Oh, yeah.
Really important. You got to have a name for your robot. Give credit for sure. And we'll get into that now. But if you start with it, whatever you start with, whether it's your own design or someone else's design, take pictures. And we'll get into this in a minute here. But keep the evolution of the robot. And I'll tell you in a minute some of the things I've seen at World that were super fun. Yeah.
Nice.
There we go. Design.
Yeah, the design, right? So as you know, for the robot design have basically two parts. One is the base robot, which you can start now, even before the season, right? But again, you may want to know what the game plan come out, and then so your best robot design will be fitting to each year's mission, right? It could be like there's too narrow pathways that your robot may the smaller robot may be better, right? And the wheel size, etc., right? So when it comes to design, you always wanted to take that base robot into consideration, and I think Elaine will tell you how important it is to assign roles to each team member. She has some secret weapons, and she'll show you.
This is something we did in Alaska, and I lived in Alaska when I started FLL before I came here. And we started using this tool called the RACI, which some of you, if you're in any kind of project management role, we use it at ASU in our day-to-day work. We have a whole presentation on it, and I think I'm going to do maybe like an evening Zoom on this topic. But one of the things you want to know is who's doing what. And when you'll get this in judging sometimes, what do you do when you guys have some kind of a disagreement about should we build it this way or that way, right? What a RACI matrix does is it assigns roles and responsibilities in such a way that the coach should be almost not involved. R is responsible, A is accountable, C is consulted, and I is informed. Then you have your team members up at the top, and you have your tasks here. This is a very, very simple version. Every single person gets to decide on their own if they want to be an R, an A, a C, or an I. The A, the accountable, is sort of the boss, right? So anybody who's an A is the final decision makers. You cannot have more than one A. One A for every task. Every task needs one A, and every task does not get more than one A. When I see a RACI matrix with two A's, I say, who decides? Because now you have two A's arguing with each other. You need one A. So what happens is when the kids are working on whatever the activity is, and they're disagreeing on something, and they would come to me as a coach and go, oh, they don't want to do things the way I want to do them. And I just go, who's the A? Don't come to me. Who's the A? And they go to the A, and then they have a discussion. The A makes final decision. That's the decision. Don't come to me and tell me that you don't like the decision they made. What that does is it pushes the roles and responsibilities all the way down to the team members, and the life skills they learned from that exercise of understanding roles and responsibilities, and that sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't, that's why we use it in business. So if If you want to know more about that, I've had coaches here in Arizona that I've done personal training on for this. So if you want more information on that, I can help.
You have another slides. This way. Yeah. You want me to do this one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is something I saw, was visiting Met Professional on another project I'm doing that's engineering related. I thought this was great. They had a to-do doing done parking, the names of the team members, and then on the little sticky notes were like tasks that needed to be done. And so this is a way, does anybody use something like this for their team members, right? So you keep a list, every time you say, oh, we need to do, go get a yellow sticky, write it down, and go, who's gonna do it? Who's taking ownership, right? And that person gets it in either the to-do, doing done, or parking, meaning it's kind of low priority. So you see how this kind of thing is something you can take photographs of every single meeting, you can put it in your engineering notebook, you can, find other ways to maintain it. But when the judges are asking how you make decisions, who does what, who's responsible for what, how do you make sure everything gets done? Whoop, here you go, that's how we do it. Super clean, and they start learning about how to stay organized and on top of it. Does that make sense? This is so easy and so affordable and so it's within easy reach. I love it.
Yeah, this reminds me as an engineer, the Jira board, right? So you're looking at your task every day and say, hey, I've done this. Right? So this is a real world engineering.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Okay. So now we come to the robot design part to create, right? So you wanted to, I'm going to read this, team develop original design or improve on existing ones according to their mission strategy, right? Remember we have the strategy, now it's, the rubber meets the road, right? You need to start building your robot and building your attachment, right? And this is where, you can divide your team members into different groups, like you can this and that, be responsible for, according to your strategy, of course, right? So if you have divided left and right side of the mission, some team can do on this side and some team can do the other side. That includes your base robot design, again, and your attachment. So if the base robot is kind of like you can reuse your robot if you have good experience with on the base side, but attachment is always customized to your design, right? So it always will have some innovation component in it, right? Remember, this is a iterative process, so you want to show the progress when you design your attachment and show the judges what you can also tell the judges in the presentation, what sensor you're using, how you code it, and test it. So that's the creation part. Always talk about these.
No cog wheels.
Yeah.
No gears on this one.
Right. But this is different what you want.
Yeah, there's no gears on this one. This is the one that the kids love, right? This is all about building attachments and coding, right? So the first one is all about attachments, right? Unclear, simple, clear with innovative attachments. So if you tell the judges what's innovative about your attachments, and then the second line is about code and sensor use, right? Unclear, simple, and clear. Bring your code in whatever format you want, whether it's printed on a laptop, on an iPad, whatever it is that you're using. Bring your code. We love to see your code. And then I can do my little trick of what does that do?
Yeah, it's amazing that how many kids don't forgot to bring their laptop to show the code. You can actually tell the judge what is the highlight of your code. Right? You have a my block that does a very good PI control. Show the judge your robot to run using that code. So that's a good way to show that you. And I see some in the world, like some teams, a lot of teams, they have a very innovative way. They can even do some advanced navigation planning using the software. That's really amazing because that's pretty much you saw it in FTC and FRC level. We saw kids doing that in FLL, so that's really amazing.
All right.
Okay, finally the iterative part, right? So testing. As you know, testing is super important in engineering, and especially for your robot mission, you want to do unit testing when you're doing each individual missions. Record the testing. 10 times is okay in regionals, but if you want to go to the next level, you want to do more testing. So, again, the evolution of a robot is important. You can take photos at the end of the meetings, so to show that how your robot evolved, right? You can demo your code during. Oh, that's your.
So this is my fun idea. They took pictures of their robot, they glued them together, and they showed up at the judges' table, and they unrolled their whole photos of their robot, so we could see how the robot evolved from meeting number 1 to meeting number whatever it was. It was a long piece of paper, 20, 30, 40, I don't know what it was. But it's just a very simple, innovative way to just drill that point into our heads of how they had changed things. And so, of course, what we did is, well, what did you do from here to here? And they're like, hang on. They went to their engineering notebook, found the meeting where that was, and they said, oh, that's what we did that day. Okay. That was good.
Yes, so, again, like Elaine says, we want to see the improvements that what you learn from the robot design and iterative, right? So you can always improve your robot and code. So next.
The demo, running your robot during a judging session?
Oh yeah, that's some techniques the teams will use to show some piece of code that does innovation things, right? You can maybe using gyro sensor to correct themselves, self-correcting, or demo some missions, maneuver, and such. So that's all good techniques.
Okay, last slide, and
Yeah,
we're right on time. Yeah.
And of course, with all that good work, if you cannot communicate that process to the judge, then it's a pity. So again, just like an innovation project, you want to follow the rubrics so that makes it easier for the judge to go through the process. And remember, a lot of good teams give you a large number of binders, your notebook, all this material. It is good, but make sure you label them. And also, you can point to exactly where the part is to show the judge. If you don't show the judge the part that you wrote, it's not counted. Okay, so we don't have time to go through every single pages. So make sure you are very familiar with the content you wrote. And the other part is we want to make sure the team member did that, right? So if somebody else did that for them, it's very easy to see during the judge session. So again, this part is a lot of hard real. So make sure you show the team spirit, and you are really excited about the robot design, celebrate whatever the success your team have.
Don't be afraid to get close to the judges either, right? Typically when you get into a room, the judges will be at a table. I'll tell you a story about Japan 2 years ago. The little Japanese team was over here and we were over there, and we said, come closer, and they went, from Japan, right? They're just so polite and so. By the end of the judging session, they were over here. They had all their robots over here. Their attachments were over here. The presentations were over here. They were leaning on the table, right? We had so much fun with them. Put your robot, if you can, if the room allows you to do it, right? Coach your students to not be afraid of judges. We are trained to work with them, make them feel comfortable. I've been in judging sessions where I've sat on the floor, right? Whatever it takes to make the students feel comfortable. And there's something about the robot where we want to see them up close. We want to see what it is that they did. And so line up your attachments if you can. Have your robot, don't be afraid to get close to the judges. And then tell us what each one of the members learned. So you could say, for example, our team member Chow started the season and he had never programmed before. So his goal this season was to program
one mission. And by the end of the season, he programmed to mission 5, and I was his mentor, and I helped him program it. Just to give you an example of how we want to hear about your lessons learned. Again, you can document that, put it in a spreadsheet, have it on some kind of a board, trifold board, or something that you bring to the session. But tell us what it is that you learned. All right?
We have another
I think that's it, because we're right on time.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's it. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Will you be able to share these?
Oh, yeah. So the question is, will I be able to share? We are recording all the sessions. Not next week because I'm traveling. I will upload every single session. If my technology worked, all the sessions will be uploaded. And I will make the slides available also. Yes. Anything else? Okay. I just want to end with one thing. This session was very much focused about the rubric and what happens in a judging room, and some tips for you to be able to coach your students when they go into a judging session. I want to take a step back from that and make sure that we all understand that what we're trying to do here is develop skills in these students that will serve them later on in life, right? We talk about judges in this conversation, but it's something that evolves into one day maybe that'll be your boss. Maybe that'll be a bank executive who's trying to decide if they're going to give you $1 million to start your startup company, right? So I want to make sure that we understand each other, that you don't do FIRST and you don't do FLL so that you play this game and get in front of judges and try to, you know. I know for me, when I go to Worlds and I have a team like that, and we do get them sometimes, I can see it coming from a mile away. I want to see kids who are having fun, who have learned something, and that are developing skills that when I retire in a few years, and I know the world is in their hands, right? I'll be happy and proud knowing that we've done what we could through this program to give them the skills that they need. Okay, so I want to make sure that, you know, we aren't getting into this so much and forgetting what it is we're trying to do.